Get the record going. Get the share going. All right, so this is kind of the file we were working with come last class, and we'll go back to that to kind of keep going. So today we're going to talk about character styles and paragraph styles. And on mine, I had little tabs for that. If you don't have tabs, you can go under View, Window, and you can get those here. So they're all under the tabs here that you can kind of pop out. So if you want something and you're not seeing it showing up here, feel free to do that. Again, it's a lot of it's just kind of personal choice and setting things up. Things that I have in here, like the Pathfinder, much like we've done with Illustrator, I may have something I want to pull together. And again, think about the pathfinding tool with the pen tool, just like you did in Illustrator. Now, does that mean I'm going to go crazy and do all kinds of drawings in InDesign? Probably not. Just because Illustrator has a little bit of an edge that makes things better. But there are things like you can see here where they're talking about paths, where I can actually put text on a path. So if I'm going to be doing that, obviously I'm going to be drawing that path up in InDesign, because this is where I'm going to be adding my text into play. Other things here, the aligning. This one I definitely do use where we're aligning up boxes, whether it be picture boxes or text boxes. So I do that. So that's kind of why that one's in my little flip here. I keep my links so I know what images are, and if there's a problem like this one's going, where is it? It's missing, so it needs to be relinked, and I don't know where I put it at this point, but I'm not going to worry about it. You'll see it's still showing up. Oh, it was right here. It's still showing up. It's got a little question mark on it, and that's letting you know that there's something missing. It will still print out like as a PDF and stuff like that. But if I was going to go to print, meaning use a commercial printer to do that, I definitely would want to find it. Okay, so that's here. And if I double click on it, it's saying, come find it for me. And I think at one point, let me just see if it's in, I think it was in my downloads, but I moved it. I may even deleted it, I'm not sure. But you can do that. Is it okay now? The Wi-Fi okay again?
It's working now. Yeah.
All right.
Got you now.
I got a little glitchy there.
Yeah.
All right. So when you're seeing, in this case, the question mark, you'll see it also on your file itself. That's meaning, in this case, something's missing. You can double click on it and you can relink it. Okay. So again, this is kind of where it's important to kind of keep your files together. Many times what I'll do is I'll make a folder for a project. So I'm putting everything into that folder and then able to quickly link to stuff. And again, we talked about under file, there's a thing called package. So if I package right now, it's going to put all of these images together. Still having internet issues?
Yeah, you're still you're kind of like cutting in and out. So
Yeah.
it's like your video pauses and then your audio also
Am I getting pixelated?
a little.
Because I like that. I would like to be pixelated. I just think that would be cool to be pixelated.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll run through this pretty quick, hopefully. And I believe the recording records without any kind of, that should be recording without any kind of issues. So, all right, are we back up now?
Yeah.
Second stable. All right. So don't forget to package your files. So when I hit package now, it's going to not only download the typefaces I've used, the fonts. Okay, you can see those in here. It's also going to download the links, meaning the pictures. Okay. And if I have any kind of special colors I've worked up, it's going to list those also. Okay. And then I'm going to hit package. It's going to put them in a folder. And we're going to just do this. And I'm saying here, include all of these issues, all of these items. The PDF to print and all this, that's your choice at this point, but it just does it as a quick preview. If I was going to send this off to a printer, printer meaning a commercial printer, somebody who's going to have a print shop, I would definitely include all of that stuff. And then hit package. Replace it, yeah, because I already had it. Let me see if it's going to do it. No, it's going to. It got weirded out because it's already there. I got a warning saying there was an overset on page 6. What that's telling me is this picture goes way off. Okay, so that it's trying to tell you ahead of time there are potentially a couple issues. And if you look also down here, it says Eris at the bottom. You should be getting that. That's called Preflighting. And it used to be a separate app, but now it's kind of built into it. And if I pull up that panel, it's going to tell me what my problems are. One, there's a missing link, which is a picture. And if I click again, it's going to tell me that's the picture. And then here, it's going to tell me the text frame on page 6, there's over text, meaning there's more text. And I can see that here, actually, that little red cross in the red square that's telling me there's text going on. Yeah, right. It might be me. My connection's getting pretty bad there. You guys were saying so. All right. So InDesign does a pretty good job of telling you if there's any problems as you go. I haven't played with layers really, and you'll see there's just kind of some basic ideas in here. And again, when we look at layers, it's looking at layers per page, okay, or per spread. It's not looking at layers throughout the whole project. So if I go up to this page, you see the items change, okay? And why would I want layers? Well, I might want something on top of each other. So I'm going to pull this here, and I might want the square, the screen square to be on top of this picture. I can see what that is by turning it on and off, and then I can move it up into my layers to bring it on top of this item. Okay, or if I want this to be on top, I can put that one on top. Okay, and it's a possibility you might want to turn something off. Who knows? But it does give you those options of moving things up and down within your grouping. Now, you can also do that up here by arranging, bringing things forward. So you can do your arrangement here, but many times it's much easier to go into your layers panel and do that kind of adjustment. So when you look at the layers, it's looking at the layers on that spread, that particular spread or those pages, not the entire document. Okay, so it kind of cleans it up and makes it a little bit easier to navigate and work yourself through. So here on page 1, there's nothing. Okay, now, again, if you want to jump around, pull up your pages panel. We'll get into masters. I think we'll try to get to that today. So we can jump around, excuse me, all the way from page 1 to 12 in this document with one click. And it's going to take me, in this case, to 6 and 7, 3, 4, 2, 3. So look at the pages here. Again, it's a way you can do that. And again, these pages can move. So I can literally move a page down. Okay, so you just saw I moved the page and push that page back up. So you can rearrange pages as you go. So don't like, oh, I put this in the wrong place. You can move it. Okay, so don't throw it out necessarily. Just you can move it down, and you can also add. So if I want to add additional pages, so we're on page 12, and I want to add pages in, I can come down here just to the plus, create new pages, and just click. So every time I click, it's adding pages. Okay, so I can add many more pages if I need to. I can also change the sizing, right? So we set up as a letter document, but I can come back in here and do some presets and change the size of my document or a particular page if I wanted to. I can tell you, I typically don't do this. I know what I want when I'm coming into it. But it can be done here. Okay, so that's what kind of what that is. But adding documents is pretty common. You just kind of start a document. You're not quite sure how long it's going to be in many cases. This is a way to kind of add it. And likewise, I can take pages away. Remember, because of the way things are printed, you'll see these off numbers. There's 1 and 16. There's always kind of a blank. That empty area is, in this case, the cover. In this case, this is the back. So in theory, when they print, page 16 will actually print with page 1. So they kind of print them back and they alternate. And the printer will figure those out and how those things have to be printed to go together to be bound, depending on the type of binding that you do. So it's not something you really have to worry about it. But know that when you're doing these documents, you're not going to have, in this case, 15 pages because it's going to be off. Okay. Now it could be 15 if you're just doing like a digital document, a PDF. But most times you're going to be in even numbers with what you're going to be doing. Does that make sense? Yes. I know I talk a lot here.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I have mute on.
Okay.
I always do that.
All right. So we're back to our 12 pages again. So again, the beauty of InDesign is if we're working, and it's like a newsletter. A lot of companies, a lot of agencies, organizations will have not necessarily a magazine, but they'll do a newsletter. And they'll make that, they may print it. Nowadays, we're doing a lot of digital, meaning we're going to email it to them, but they'll do a monthly newsletter. And as a designer, obviously you want to save your time. So you're going to usually come up with a style or a look, and you're going to use that over and over and over again. So once you've kind of established what typefaces, what fonts you want to use, the look, the feel, the number of columns, all that kind of stuff, you're going to typically reutilize that over, the next year or so. So until you go back and kind of redesign that newsletter, you're going to be utilizing the same things. So this is where kind of styles come into play. And this is where InDesign becomes really helpful. So you can set up something on page 1 and then transfer that type of style down into all of your documents as you continue to add, in this case, text to your document. All right. So I'm going to build a text box over here. And I'm going to link it from this one. So the link, I know I've got an issue in here. So I'm going to click on that. And I want to, it's got it preloaded now on my cursor. And I'm going to drop it into this text box I just kind of drew here with that. So one that gets rid of that issue, and the text is going from this page to down to this page. Okay. So I want to go through the styles first and what they are and how they work, so you can start to see that. So I'm going to actually do a new text box over here. And oftentimes what I do is I do a new text box just to kind of build my style out so I can see what I want. And then I will save it that way. So I'm going to, work with just one paragraph. It's going to make it a lot easier to try to deal with a whole page. So I want to select my typeface first. So I'm going to come in here and go to my properties panel, and we see we have this Minion Pro, which is kind of a default typeface. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to pick out one that I think, well, let's do this. It's kind of nice. So this Muriza basic. Okay. And then it's got multiple line weights, which is nice, right? I've got, thin, I got hairline, which is even thinner. And then I go all the way up to a black, which is like really thick. So this is kind of nice that I can kind of start to do that. So I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to not make it black. I'm going to give it we'll just start with regular just to make it simple. And what I want to do is set up a style, meaning I want to be able to kind of save this in the computer. Okay. And when I save it, I'm going to be able to kind of click on things to make it come back. So let's see if we can get this going here. So I'm on the text that I want to kind of save, and I want the character style. So character styles is the font. Okay, paragraph styles are basically the font and the paragraphing, center, left, right, whatever we happen to be. So let me just do the character style first. I'm going to hit plus over here, and I'm going to character style 1 is here, and this is, I'm going to call this basic. Okay, so let me do this with the type. I'm going to track it out a little bit just so you can kind of see it a little bit better. And you can kind of see how that style is working. And we're going to make it 11 point with that. And then we just see if that translate it. And I'm going to grab the text from over here again. I'm just double checking to see if it completed what I want. I think it's you think it's my Wi-Fi or your Wi-Fi? And let me see if this works. It did. So what we're doing here is we're taking a typeface and we're going to add it elsewhere. So this is the Marazon Basic. Okay. And let me get the window. I think there's a window for this. They moved some things around on me since last I looked. One second. Okay. So what I did was I had it here. I told you that this is where I had it, and I forgot to put it up there. So this is the character style, and this is telling me it's what I called it, Marazon Pro. It's based on nothing, right? So I could have one style and base it on another style. I can build in a keyboard shortcut if I want to, but I'm not going to worry about that. And this is where I can tell it what I want. So we have this here, Marazon Basic, and I did it in the regular, and I'm going to make it 11 point. And I want to track it out to be 50. And we're going to leave the leading to auto. These are, you can make advanced, meaning you can shift things up and down if you want to. And I'm going to give it a color just so things are going to really pop when we do this. We'll make it red. Open type we're not worried about. Underlining no, strike through no, and exporting no. So we're going to click OK. So what I did was I made this a style, okay, with my Marazon Basic. Now, whenever I click on something, if I double click on my character style, it will now change it to that. So I double click and it changed it to that typeface and that style and that color. So I'm going to come back up here. Here's the whole paragraph. Right now, there is no style added to it. It's whatever I've done over here with that. So anything I've done paragraph-wise, it's kind of built in. So I'm going to change this to be this basic style that I created. So I'm going to click on that text box, and then I'm going to click on, oops. Come on, change. And now it's changed back to that new style that I just created. Okay, so the beauty of this character style is I can bring in text from wherever. And again, most times the client will end up giving this to you. But I can bring it in, and if I have a character style and I've got this formatted, I can come back to this at any point and change the text to what I want. So up here we have a whole different typeface. It's a sans serif. And let's say I want it to be this character style. So I can literally just select all. I'm going to highlight it all. It's all connected article. And then I'm going to go to character style. And when I click it, it's going to change it to what I selected as a character style. Okay, so it's again, it's a nice way of pre-planning things as you go. So here it is done. And that's, you know, down here, we've got another article. We want it all to kind of match up. Well, instead of trying to figure out what did I do before and have it all written down, because I saved it as a character style, I'm just highlighting it all. Oops. And then I'm going to click on my character style, and it changed to what I predetermined as my style. Okay. Now you can change things. So let's say I want this part of the story not to be red, but I want it to be black. Okay. So I'm coming up to my colors, and I'm going to go to black with that. So I've changed it. Now, when I look at my character styles for this part, I get a little plus. Okay. What that means is we've overwritten what was there. So you can option click to clear, and it's telling me kind of quickly what I did was I made it black. Okay, so when we make these character styles, they're not necessarily, they're not permanent things. We can go in and we can adjust them, we can modify them. So there might be a reason where you just want, hey, I just want this part of the paragraph to be justified, flush right, flush left. So I went in and made that change, or I want to change the color of that particular sentence or that particular paragraph. Okay, so you can override that. That can also come back and just double click it again, the character style, and it takes it back to being what that style was. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of versatility built into InDesign. So if we set up something, we can come back and we can do some modifications with it without too much problem. So that's kind of character style. So I'm going to go through it one more time because I think this is kind of an important thing to do. So I'm going to build another little box over here of text, and I'm going to just kind of grab this paragraph again. I'm going to paste it, and it has a style there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a style of none. So it's going to default back to my Minion Pro. And I want to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to, again, work this up first, and I'm going to pick my typeface, and I'm going to go with something. Did that work? Okay. No, I don't. Yeah, that's okay. Sorry, defaulted back. I'm looking for something. I'm going to make like a headline. Give me 1 second here. Everybody with me still? Nobody fell asleep?
We're good.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go with this one. Let me get my mouse is being slow. I'm going to go this Columbia tiling. And let me see, I know I had some versions. I'm going to go to the bold. And I'm going to just get rid of some of this text and make it, because I want to make this kind of a headline. So I'm just kind of working it up so I can visually see how much takes to go across, kind of like a 2 columns. So if I have a headline there. So I'm just bumping my font size up, and we're going to go up to about 16 there. And we're going to look at I'm going to track it out a little bit. Get some more gap in between. And we're going to give that another color. Oops, what did it do? Oh, I zoomed out. Did I not? No. Oh, what are you doing? Tracking 70, 16 there. I'm going to give it a new color just for you guys to see. We'll make it green so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new one, and we're going to call this I'm going to call this headline. So oftentimes what you're going to do is when you do your styles, whether it be character styles or paragraph styles, you're going to kind of label them what they are so it kind of makes sense to you. So if we're going to, instead of calling this Mazarine Basic, I might want to call this body copy. So I kind of know when I'm working, I don't have to remember, okay, what was that typeface? It doesn't matter. I know I've selected this to be here. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to double click it, and it's based on nothing. And my character style is my Columbia tilting. It's 16 point, it's 70. I've already kind of worked this pre-out. My color is the green, and we're pretty good with all that other. I'm just going to click OK. So now whenever I have a headline, I can make it that. So for example, I go back up to my first article, and I'm going to make, let me just take this down. We did this the other day. I'm going to add in a title. Okay, so Joshua Tree is the name of this story, for example. All I have to do is highlight that word, Joshua Tree, and I can go over here to headline, and I clicked on it, and you see it now changed it to be the typeface and all that we've pre-selected to be our headlines. Does that make sense? If I go, oh, no, I don't want that, I want that, I should have been body copy, come back and just click body copy, and now it's back to body copy. Okay, so as you're working, when you build these character styles in, or we're going to do paragraph styles in a second, we're just kind of adding another element to it. It lets us work and let's be able to kind of quickly treat each area as we want. So another area you might kind of treat is maybe you have captions underneath your photos, right? Little captions that go under pictures explaining what the photo is, right? We see that all the time. So again, that would be a photo caption or just caption, right? So we can build that into a character style. So whenever we have those elements, we just click it and it's going to change it. Okay, so one, it eliminates errors. We know we're going to be the same type or font size. We know we're going to be the same color. We know we're going to be the same font and the weight. In this case, it's bold. So it kind of eliminates those errors, and it's much, much, much quicker when you're starting to do a multi-page document to set up your character styles. So I'll do character styles typically when I'm starting to get into 2, 3, 4 pages. If I was doing a single page, I probably wouldn't, just because I don't need to do that. But again, it's just kind of up to the project and what it's going to be about as to whether you need that couple extra minutes to build in your character styles. Okay, so I typically build those first. Like I said, I'm down here building them. And when I'm all done building my styles, I don't need this. It's just kind of working it in. And I can kind of just delete these boxes to get rid of them. Okay. So let's say I want to do a headline 2. I want to do a second headline version. So I can do a new one, and I'm going to double click on it. And this is where it's based on. Okay, so I'm saying it's based on the headline. So it's going to look, if I look at my style, it's giving me the things already. It's giving me the Columbia. It's giving me 16 point, the 70 point tracking. But I want for character, I'm going to call this headline 2. I want that to be magenta. Okay, and I'm going to call this headline 2. So the difference between them is headline is green, headline 2 is in magenta. That's it. There's no difference. Okay, so right now it's in magenta. So I come back up here and I'm going to highlight this again, and I'm going to say make it headline 2, and now it's magenta. Okay, go now. That's not right. I don't want that anymore. I think I want the green one. Go back to headline 1. Boom, and it turns green again. Okay, so you can make these styles upon other styles. So once you start to work, you kind of build in additional styles into it. Okay, so they're pretty cool. The styles stay with the file. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it when I open this document back up, next week. It'll have those styles that are there because I've built those in. Okay, you can also export, whereas I think we can export the styles, load styles. So we can load and export our character styles so we can bring them into new documents. Okay, we're opening up the newsletter for next month. We want to bring in the styles from this month. Boom, we can load those in there. Okay, so those kind of things are available. So let me go through paragraph styles next. So you notice on the character styles, there's nothing to do with the formatting of the paragraphs. It's just dealing with the font itself. Now, when we get into paragraph styles, you see, gets a lot more kind of things going on here. So I'm going to kind of go through this now to build that up. So I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to select this so it knows this is what I'm working with. I'm going to create new. So when I get in here, it's saying what paragraph or what character styles. So I can work off of something else. But I'm going to just kind of put my other fonts in here. We're going to go with it there. We're going to do in a book 14. We'll go to 11. The spacing. So these are kind of the things we saw before. This is where we start getting into things like indenting. Okay, the alignment, left, right, center, justified, all that kind of stuff is there. And we're going to do center so you guys can see it. Now we'll do full justified, fully justified. We can build in tabs. Okay, so many times you're kind of working with things and you want to build in tabs, and in the old days we had typewriters, we could put in tabs. That's what this is. Okay, so we can build in our tabs here, and these are our left, justified, center. We can also pull in the tab bars here. Okay, so we can adjust our tabs. We can do rules, meaning we can put lines under paragraphs if we want to. We can put borders on that paragraph. We can even shade the text if we need to. That's not a problem. Hyphenation, this is a good one. In InDesign, we can adjust the hyphenation. So this is kind of the default, meaning words with at least 5 letters, it will hyphenate. It can hyphenate after the first 2 letters and before the last 2. Okay, and there's a number of hyphens is 3, and that's kind of like in a paragraph. You can also kind of adjust it here. It's kind of fewer hyphens or better spacing, meaning how much line is between. You can also just click this hyphenate and turn that off, and that will turn off hyphens. Okay. You may or may not want hyphens. Again, that's kind of a style choice. I try not to hyphenate if it's just say like a couple paragraphs. It's like 2 paragraphs. I think the hyphenations can probably do without. Obviously, if we get into a big book, hyphenation is going to be something that's going to be needed. Okay, so but you can turn off hyphenations, which is cool. Justification. Again, we're talking about the spacing between words. This is the defaults, which are probably pretty good, but you can get in there and adjust those nuances. Paragraph fine. Drop caps, if we want to put drop caps in presets, we can do those. How to make the bullets. So this is based upon what we've got. We can put in presets of bullets based upon certain characters. Okay. If we want to, the typeface, the color, open type, we're not whatnot, underline options, export, we're good. So we're going to click OK, and I'm going to call this body, because this is the body style I'm going to try to create. So I'm clicking on this thing, and I'm going to click body. Oops. Let me highlight that, click body, boom, and now it moved it over. It's fully justified. I didn't want this to be changed, so I'm going to go back to just headline on that. And it does add the paragraphing style because it is there. If I want it nothing, and go back to basic, and that basically turns that off for that. So again, you can go through and you can make these adjustments, and you can see with a few clicks, now everything is right and left justified, okay, because I did a paragraph style. So over here, these are already there. I'm going to just unclick this paragraph style. No, that's one over. Here we go. We have the rag, okay, which is on the edge here. We are left justified, but I want to make it the new body style. Click on body, and you see now it is justified, fully justified here with that. Does that make sense? Yes, no? Got it? Okay, so paragraph styles deal with the main differences deals with the paragraphing, where character styles deal with the fonts themselves. You can add into your body styles your character styles. Okay, so you can preset those here based upon your styles. Okay, so we can pull that in here, and we can put in your character styles with that. So if you know you're gonna be doing a lot of preset formatting, I would set up the paragraph style, which is basically more powerful than the character style. Okay, so I'm gonna do this again here. I'm gonna just set this up right now. Oh, I got that tab built in, didn't I? Okay, let me just make a new paragraph. Again, I'm just going to build this out just so you can kind of see that again. Putting that weird thing in the spot. Let me just do it over here. All right. Let me get a paragraph going. Let me come down here. All right. So we've got our paragraph, and we're going to make a new one. So I want to zoom in. I want to get this changed up. So I'm going to take select my typeface first, and we'll do this. And I'm going to make it bigger so we can see it's obviously a big change. I'm going to increase the leading. Well, we'll tighten it up a little bit. Back to 0 on the leading. I'm going to do a left-right justification. I don't want any in. Well, let me put an indent in for the paragraph. So I'm putting in a little paragraph bump. Now, one thing about paragraphs, guys, when you do this kind of indentation, it's either you do this or you do that. So in this case, if I'm doing a indentation for each paragraph, I don't need to put in the spacing between lines. So right now, there's no indentation, and it'd be hard on this curve, but if I had, I'm gonna build that in. If I had this, I don't need to have that. See, there's an indentation here. Let me do it on a paragraph. You can see it. It's kind of hard to see on the curve. So right now we have a new paragraph, the plan. So if I indent this, I'm just spacing for the sake of thing. I don't necessarily need that blank space. Okay. So I don't do this, meaning blank space and indentation. If I have a blank space, I don't have an indentation. So it's kind of like a modern way of doing type layout. In the old days, we had this, so we knew where a new paragraph started, right? We would have this gap, and you can preset that over here on your paragraph. But in today's design world, today's world of publishing, we typically, if we have that indentation for a paragraph, we don't have this extra line, blank line. Does that make sense? Usually, okay, I'm not saying it's always the case, but typically it's either a blank line or you indent and you get rid of the blank line, okay, to indicate a new paragraph. It's really up to you as to how you want to do it, but kind of set that standard up. I personally do the blank line most times. I know, I think visually just kind of, it gives the eye a little bit of an extra break as we're kind of reading. So that's my preference, is to use the blank, but you can do the indentation if you want. So I'm going to go back here to this, and we're here, and I'm going to do a little indent. I'm going to keep adding that indent there, 0.25, and I'm going to make the color. I'm going to make the color back to black. Okay, so there. So we're going to make a new paragraph style. So I'm clicking new, and cancel. Oops. Okay, so I'm just double checking to do what I want at 16 points. And I know I've changed the color to black, so we're okay. And I'm going to just call this body 2A, just so I know that's the second one. Okay, so that's my new paragraph style with a new font change in there, right, guys? So I'm moving a whole new font, new character, and sizing, all that. So I'm going to go back up here to this article. I'm selecting all type, and I want it to be the body copy 2A, and it changed it over. It should have. No, it didn't. Come on, why didn't it do it? Why didn't it override? It should have overwritten it. Call me a. Yeah. Okay, so let me do this. Apply. There we go. It had the character style built underneath with that. So here we go. So now we're back to that new paragraph. If I didn't want it, I could just kind of come back. And now that was back to the old style. Okay. So we can jump back and forth. And as we build these styles in, it allows us again to be consistent with what we're doing and how we're starting to work. So paragraph and character styles, even though, like you said, you saw it got a little wonky, it takes a little time to kind of do. It's well worth it from a time standpoint. okay, as you start to work. Okay, so once you kind of took the time, the 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it takes to do, at that point, you can come back in and keep clicking these items as you go down. So we start to build this document out, put more pages in, more information, more context. It really, really becomes a lot easier down the line. Okay, so think about doing the paragraph styles and or the character styles, again, based upon what you're doing. Okay, I'm not saying it's needed for every single case, but it is worth doing when you start to get into multiple pages. And I think you're going to want to do that. And it's going to save you a lot of time as you go. Questions on that? And it's kind of a little bit of an advanced thing as we go in here, but you know, that's what we can do here in InDesign. It allows us to do these things. The other ones, the other programs, something like Photoshop or Illustrator, really don't. They may have some of these kind of capabilities, but nothing near what we have here. All right, questions?
Not really a question, but styles
Yeah.
thing is pretty neat.
Did you know about that before, Aaron?
I did not actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a user,
helpful as
someone who's
well.
been using InDesign for the last at least couple weeks with the other class. Does that make sense? Can you see the help of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Like I say, it is one of those things you don't need all the time, and you can obviously use InDesign without doing it. But I can tell you, as you start to build in much bigger documents, it really, really, really is helpful. And in fact,
for sure.
I've used it most when I've done things like I don't know, like a newsletter for a company, like they want one done every month. Well, once I've established the styles, all I got to do is bring in, they're going to send me the new story. Here's the new story. We did a renovation to the garden, whatever, and here's some pictures to go with it. And I'll go through and format the pictures and color correct and do whatever. As I make that story together, all I got to do is drop in the text, and they're going to most times send it to it as a Microsoft Word document. Click on whatever style I want, and bam, it's already done. Okay, so I'm using what I've used last month
even
for
more
this
convenient.
month. What's that?
Yeah, that'll make it even more convenient.
It is much more convenient.
Yeah.
So when you look at, I don't know, a newspaper or a magazine, they're doing this all the time. There's a reason why last month's looks like this month's. The stories are all different, but they're using similar typefaces now because they're using styles. And the same idea, principle of styles also works on online, right? So if you're working on new web pages, you're going to have styles that are built into one and bring it into another. So again, getting used to this concept of styles, it's used not just in desktop publishing, but also in things like web design. Okay.
Cool.
Questions on that? All right. I don't want to show today. I think on, what are we on? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to get into some master pages. Not that much more complicated, but we'll deal with this up here, which is the master pages. And truthfully, we're pretty deep into InDesign. And I think on Thursday we'll come up with a project that you guys can start. We'll go over at least the next. Yeah, we'll probably go over the final project. What are we at now, date-wise? The 20th. Yeah, we'll go over the final project, I think, on Thursday, and let you guys get started on that. Now that you've got that. So between now and Thursday, what I want you to do as a homework is make up a document, import some text, import some photos, start to see how things go, move things around, because I want you to be kind of comfortable as we start to work that you can do this. I'm going to just drag up this. Whoops. Yeah, I'm going to get this. Whoops, I keep clicking too fast. All right, so I want to show you real quick the kind of the runaround stuff. with pictures, and then we'll kind of let you kind of go for today, and then we'll get into more later. So right now I moved this picture up, and as you can see, there's a lot of text, a lot of words going behind it. Okay, so come back over to my properties, and we have our text wrap. Remember we did this the other day, where right now we can see this first one, there is no text wrap. So we want the words to go around the box. So this wraps around the object, this wraps around the box. Okay, the object means it could be something else, shape could be another shape that we had going on. So if we had a round shape, we'll show you the difference there. So the bounding box is the square that you have here. Let me give it a color. My mouse moved. Okay. So when we do this, there's no text wrap. If I do this, it's going to go around this blue box. Okay. It pushes the text all the way out. Move this over so you can see it better. Okay. Where here, it goes around the object, meaning it goes around, in this case, the shape. Okay. So unstable again. All right, hopefully we're back. So if you have a square box, it doesn't really make a difference. But when you have some kind of a shape, you're going to want to make that decision. Am I going around the shape of the object, or am I going around the bounding box? Okay. So up here, I want the words to go around this picture. So I'm going to click here, and it's going around the bounding box or the frame of the picture. But like I said the other day, we've got this text right up against the frame. And let me go to preview mode so you can really kind of see it. It's right there on the edge, and that's just like not good design. Okay, and you want to be able to have a little bit of a gap between the picture in this case and the words. So here's where I'm going to link. I'm going to put that link on so they're all together. And what I want to do is just kind of click it, and I basically right now 0.0625, that's the gap. Okay, and you can see it actually kind of draws it in a very, very faint line to show you where that would be with all the text. I'm going to push it out a little bit more. And you can see there's like this line, and that means the text will not get within that. Okay, and that's a good thing, right? It gives the one, it lets you see the picture without seeing the text up on the edge, and it gives it that little bit of breathing space. And I talk about breathing because when we're designing, when we're reading, we want that little, we call it white space, meaning that little bit of a gap, a little bit of extra area that lets our eyes take a momentary pause from what it's seeing. Okay, so when we do the text wrap, you always want to make sure you have some kind of spacing around. You don't need to be a big gap, but it needs to be a little bit at the very least. So that can work. It's a little tight. I like this 0.125 a little better. It looks a little bit better visually. And remember, we're zoomed in, so if we zoom back out a little bit, we can see where that kind of looks really nice going around that picture, as opposed to that one. It still feels very tight. Okay, so make sure you're turning the wrap on. Here you can see the wrap is going around the bounding box to get that white area. You might not want it. I want the shape. But again, even more important here to give it that gap around so we can let the object and the text breathe. Okay, and because we've done that, no matter where we move this box, it will continue to adjust the text. So many times we're moving things up and down or right, left, just to kind of get things to fit. So if I have this kind of weird, this is like a very weird paragraph now, because we got a new paragraph, we got a gap, we got some really weird the plan. It's just very hard to read. So I might pull that up so I get something a little bit more legible and feels a little more comfortable visually. So a lot of what we do in design is kind of this kind of visual play. It's kind of a tug of war back and forth on moving things and adjusting things so our letters and our words read well. Okay, because if not, it makes things difficult to read. So things that we're looking for are you know, hyphenations? Do I have too many hyphenations? Do I have too big of gaps in here? Okay, and those are all things we can make adjustments for, again, depending on what we're doing. And we'll go through that, I think, a little bit more on maybe Thursday. Let me just write that down, just to kind of character paragraphing. I'm just writing this down so I don't forget. Hold on one second. Okay. All right. So make sure you're turning on your wraps, your text wraps, okay, and you're making those adjustments to them as you're moving your pictures into place. Okay. You don't want the text to go above or below. I'm going to tell you 99.9% of the time. Okay. You're not going to want the words going on top of the picture. Okay. It's not to say you can't, but I'm just going to tell you most of the time you're not going to want that. Okay. Questions?
I think let's see.
Sorry to interrupt. For
Yeah.
Thursday, what it's just, you said just one page?
No, between now and Thursday, again, it's not, we'll call it homework, but I would, it's an exercise I want you guys to do, is just kind of make sure you're bringing text and pictures together in InDesign.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? I'm not collecting anything. I just want you guys to do it.
Okay.
If we were in a classroom, I'd tell you go do it now, and I'm going to sit there and watch you, but I can't do that. So, but you know, you guys are big enough kids now to do it by yourself, right?
Oh yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See? Questions? I'm checking my attendance while we're here. It's got landscape here.
No questions for me.
Does that make sense? I know I'm going quick on some of this. And again, you guys got to tell me, because most of this is second nature to me. So sometimes I kind of just jump, and I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not trying to skip anything. It's just kind of makes, you know, it always makes sense to me. So.
Right. Yeah. I've heard like I think like the better you get at things, the small little things become automatic.
Well, they definitely do. Yeah, I mean, again, the more you use it, it's like driving, right? You just, it's second nature now. You don't even think, oh, I got to turn my blinker on. You just do it, right? I mean, you just kind of know, you know to look over there before you shift lanes, because someone might be there. You know, you're not consciously thinking about it. So yeah, same thing with these programs. The more you use Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, the much better you're going to get, and that's going to speed up your time, which is a good thing. I mean, you know, no one wants to spend 10 hours doing it if you could do it in 2. So
Definitely.
other questions, issues? All right, so for Thursday, open up your InDesign, guys. Put in some pictures, put in some text, work with the text wraps, work with the characters, play with the paragraph styles, the character styles, just kind of get a feel for it. And if you have questions, or it's like, oh, it didn't work, write the question down and let me know. And we can talk about it on Thursday. It gets a little weird sometimes, but it does work. And you know, even me, you saw me struggling a couple times today. We're like, wow, it should have changed. It didn't change. There's little nuances. You think you did something and then you didn't, but it does work. Okay. And again, I just want you guys to work with this. So as I start to give you an assignment on Thursday, you can start to get into it, and you're not struggling up, oh, how do I make a text box, or how do I put a picture in to the text box or into the picture box. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Other questions, guys? All right. So we're about a month out. Like I said, we'll get into the final Thursday. Practice, 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 and you know, enjoy. It's supposed to be some nice weather this week. All right, so enjoy your Tuesday night, your Wednesday, and we will chat on Thursday. And I'll get up today's class and last Thursdays. I'll get those back up on the website. So, all right,
All right.
okay, guys. If there's nothing else, have a good afternoon, and we will chat on Thursday.
Sir,
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate
Okay,
your
thank you.
help.
Have a good one, Danny.
Bye.